guys, so today we're going to do a water change and I thought I would vlog it all for you. All the prep that I do, the water change itself, all the bits of equipment I use, just doing it my way really. I know you guys are going to have your ways of doing it, but I don't know, some of these tips might help you out. So let's get straight to it.
You deserve my time, why you should be mine. All I need is one good reason. Secrets are no good, don't let them hurt you. Better be honest, if you want my kiss, give me a reason, give me an answer.
So the first thing is going to get my filters. So what I do is I time my filters kind of cleaning the cycle to match when I do my water change, because I do everything on a Sunday, sometimes on a Saturday, and then everything's ready. I don't have to mess around. So as you can see, the filters are in the washing machine. So I'm going to get those out now, take them downstairs, and they'll be ready for later on. So you've all seen the boneyard before, and so we was just upstairs collecting my filters. I've showed you this before, but basically keep them in one of these bins. In fact, I keep them in this one. This is the clean bin, but this is the one that I use to take out my water when I do my water change. So for the moment they're in the dirty bin. We'll take this, and there's a few other things we need as well. So join with me on this trip. We need the bin. So that's gonna be what I use to take out 10 gallons. It's a 10-gallon drum. All right, back out. If you don't have a dolly, these things are incredible. The only thing I will say is watch the feet, because I take this outstairs to dump my water sometimes, the old water, and once you start running it on concrete, you get little stones trapped in the wheels and it leaves marks on the floor. So just be aware of that. I clean mine every now and again, but what I do is I stick the bucket or the drum or whatever you want to call this on the dolly, and then that's ready for me to wheel off when the water's in there. So let's go get some more stuff. Get ready for this water change. What else do we need? Only a couple of things. We need one of these. You'll see what I use that for later, and it's actually not what you think it's for. It's not for the tank. Pipe cleaner to clean the MP40s. They get cleaned every week. The pipe to take the water out, and then we've got one more trip to make, and then we're almost ready. I hate this pipe actually. It's not very what the word I'm looking for is, but when it gets cold it gets kinks in it, and kinks are really hard to get out. You want a more pliable piece of pipe, and actually a bigger piece of pipe, but this is what I've used all along. And what I did is attach this little device to it, and that just hangs over the side of my my tank when I put the water back in. So that's put there for when I put the water back in. This thing stays on my little cleaning station here. Alright, so one more piece of equipment to get, and then we're almost ready to go with a water change. So how do we get the water out? Well, I take it out with this thing. Works really good. It's pretty fast. A bit quicker with a pump, but I do have pumps. I just don't use them. I use this. And every now and again I will clean the sand bed. Today it doesn't need it. I did it last week. So I'll just take the water straight out. In fact, it's a really good way to see how good your water quality is. If you don't stir up your sand bed and you just dump in the water straight in the bucket, if you look in there and it's super clear, then it gives you a good idea of how clean your water is. So All right, that's all the bits that I need to do my water change. So let's get the tank ready. Okay, so there's a couple of things I do to get the tank ready. First and foremost, I take out, no I don't. First and foremost, I turn off the ATO, okay? It's around the back here. The ATO is turned off. Now I take out the filter socks, because when you turn the tank back on after doing the water change, if you have the filter socks in there, it can and will create airlocks. So always take the filter socks out. Next job, I'm going to turn the skimmer off, and I'm going to turn the dosing machine off. So I'm going to go into my Neptune system. I'm going to go to both my dosing machines, so alkalinity and calcium off, and then I'm going to scroll down to my skimmer, and I'm going to set that to off. Alright, now I've done those things, I can get ready to turn all the pumps off. Alright everyone, it's time to turn the pumps off. Doesn't matter what order you do it in, but I turn the MP40s off first, followed by the return pump, which is Ecotech M2. 1, 2, 3. And you'll hear the siphon. Now what I will say is, when I first got these Antheus, especially the female, the more yellow coloured one, she would go nuts at this point, and that's what would give her that lepto. It's like a viral disease, and every week for weeks and weeks and weeks she would go and hide in those rocks over there. She'll do it again, but she's got more used to it, especially when I start sticking the siphon in to get the water out. But she would hate this. It took her a long time to really get used to these water changes. And in fact, if I do the sand, that she doesn't get the lepto anymore, but she really doesn't like that at all. So anyway, the pumps are off. I don't mark the tank. What I used to do was mark it with a piece of tape, so I know where it goes. I don't do that anymore. That was causing me actually more problems than not. So now I just make sure that it flows back through the overflow. Once it starts flowing back through there, I'll turn the water off. So let's get the water out. Love these things. Great for cleaning the sand. I'm not going to do that today though. I just squirted water all over my tank. So here it comes. Trust me, I won't bore you with all of this. I'll probably speed it up, but you get the idea. Alright, we're coming to the end now. I just normally fill the bucket up to just past the 10-gallon mark. And there we go. Water out. I stick this somewhere where it's not going to get anything soaking wet. Got a piece of towel there. So the water's out. You'll notice this coral, this acro, is out by about 2 inches. It's fine, don't worry about it. If you've got corals like that, maybe 20 minutes, right? That would be fine out. This is definitely not going to take me 20 minutes. So what I do now is I wheel this back over to where the camera is, and I'll pump that out into the sink a little bit later on. So let's go through the next stages, and I'll show you what I do with this water next. Alright, so as you can see, the water is now over here. Pushed it over on the dolly. Now I'm going to get my MP40s, the wave makers, out, of the tank and we'll give them a clean. Do this on every single water change. Always have my handy towel with me. So the water that I just took out of the tank is what I use to clean these. These actually are probably nearly close to being needed to be soaked in vinegar, but as you can see, there is a ton of coralline algae over these return pumps. But I give these a good clean, especially the top part here, the part that will spin the blades, and also give the blades a quick clean as well. And I use the back of the pipe cleaner to free up or agitate any of the algae that's stuck on there. It's only a little bit, but I tell you what, it really makes a difference if you clean those blades to the way that these work when you put them back in the tank. And how I know it's clean is this piece here, this white piece, goes from being brown to white. So I'll put that back in the towel and I'll go and place that back in the tank. I don't have enough hands to show you me doing that, so apologies. Alright, that's the first one done. Taking the second one out now, which has a snail on it, annoyingly. Here's the thing, when you throw snails in the tank, why do they never land the right way up? It's like a piece of toast, right? When you drop it on the floor, snails, they never land the right way up. So just this one a quick clean, exactly the same as the other one. Gonna agitate the stubborn pieces of algae on the side of the blades here. Normally you'll find that the algae builds up on the leading edges of those blades. And like I say, it really does make a difference if you get those blades completely clean. Massive difference. Alright. Just give it a clean on the back. And that is that for the pumps or the wave makers. Put this back in the tank. Alright. Okay, that's my maintenance really. Now we'll don't know if you can see me. Now we've done the pumps, it's time to get the water back in there. So let's do that. Okay, so I rigged up the pump. As you can see, that's where I have it, hanging over the back end there. And then it trails through down into my garage, into the bin with the water. And simply, what I do is just plug that in, plug the pump back in, and the water starts flowing. So let me go and set the camera up on the tripod, and we'll begin filling it with water. Now what I do, turn the water on now, but like I say, this type of piping is really horrible. There's so many kinks in it. And it's really quite rigid, and when it gets cold, the kinks make it really difficult for the water to travel through it. But as the water goes through it and the pipe heats up, you can take those kinks out. I've just been too lazy to get a nice piece of pipe. So this is filling back up now. And we'll come back, once it's full up, and I'll walk you through the next steps. So we're reaching the point where we need to go back in the garage and turn the pump off. Like I say, what I do is I wait until the water starts flowing back through the overflow again, and then if I need to adjust the water, I'll just take some out once I get things started back up again. All right, so that's going down the overflow now. I'm going to go back into the garage and turn the pumps off. Come back quickly so you don't get a reverse siphon, and that's the water added. So turn this up like that so you don't get any water come out, and then back into the garage. Alright, now it's time to turn the pumps back on. Doesn't really matter what order you do this in, but actually what I do is I turn the wave makers on first, because sometimes you don't get them back on properly and they fall off. So before it gets all too, you got pumps going off everywhere, I turn the wave makers on first. So let's do that. Hopefully they won't fall off. All right, great. Wave makers are back on. I'm not going to put the filters back in yet, right? And the protein skimmer is going to stay off because I'm going to clean that next. So back on with the return pump. You really, I don't. This system is so quiet. The noisiest part about this system is the protein skimmer. And that's as quiet of a protein skimmer as you're going to get, but as you can tell, right, there's really no noise. Now what I'll do, once this once I see the level in the return chamber is about where I think it should be, and I may have to adjust with adding some more water or taking some out. So it's normally about 2 minutes after I've turned the return pump on. Everything's kind of equalized out. Now I'll put the filter socks back in to start filtering out some of this crap that's being churned up whilst the return pump's being off. So let's do that now. We'll put these filter socks back in. So the socks are back in. I've still not finished tinkering around with the water levels yet, and I'm certainly not going to turn the ATO on until I finish cleaning the protein skimmer. So let's clean the protein skimmer now. Then we'll be ready to add that back into the tank, and then make sure that all our levels are correct. So let's do that now. Okay, so this is the really smelly bit. This is the kind of skim that I get out of the NIOS, the Quantum 160. Real nice dark skim. This is a week's worth. Sometimes it's I get more than that, sometimes I don't. It just depends, but I guess you can skim a little bit, have a wetter skim, right, and have more in here, but this seems to work good for me. I guess I get from this level up to about here in a week, but I always clean this once a week, generally when I do the water change. And this is how I do it. Just run the tap, get that going on hot. Pour this down the sink. Oh my god, it stinks so bad. And then I get the worst off. If you just start a bit on the side, it starts peeling off with the pressure of the water. So that's what I do, get the worst off so I don't have to have my fingers in there too much. The wife very much stays out of the way when I'm doing this because it smells so bad. Alright, then I just use paper towel, get a nice bit of paper towel, and then start taking this off. Just wiping around the skimmer with the paper towel, rinsing it out in the water. I know you guys might have a different way of doing this, you might have a sponge, but this seems to work well for me. Make sure I get all of that skin mate off. Now what I don't do is I don't go and overly clean this on the inside, because what I find is if you really clean this like it's brand new, then the skimmer acts as it's brand new, and it takes an awful long time, I find, with these skimmers, these Nile skimmers, if you give it a really deep clean, to settle back in and start skimming as it should do. So I don't really give this a massive deep clean. I used to in the past, but I found if you do that right, it takes a while to get a good skim back again. So that's what I do. All right, so now that's clean. I just take a clean piece of paper towel, or if you're from England, kitchen roll. Dry this. Doesn't matter really about drying it so much on the inside, right? Because that water's not going to get into your tank, but certainly on the outside, give it a good dry, so none of that water's going to end up in your tank. And especially here in Tennessee, the water's got so much chlorine in it, it's not even funny. You take a shower and it's like going to a swimming pool, it's horrible. Alright, so that's the collection cup dried off. We do the lid. Make sure that's nice and dry. That's ready to go back in the tank, and now we can do everything we did at the start in reverse. So let's go do that. Alright, we're back in the sump. We're going to put the skimmer cup back in. Make sure that's on there nice and tight. Put the lid on. I also have this carbon filter pad that I stick on top. That really does help with the smell that comes with the that comes out once you start getting skim in there. Actually, really works very, very well. Now, I guarantee you, I don't guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, when I turn this skimmer back on, it doesn't want to come back on. So I'll show you a tip. And in fact, I'll take this off because I'll need to lift the skimmer up. All right, so we do everything back in reverse now. We go to our dosing machines. Remember, you don't want to turn these on. If you turn it on, it's just going to pump stuff in there. So always turn these to auto for the alk, auto for the calcium. So that will now start dosing again. And then we'll go to the pump. And we want this to set to on, not to auto. So stick it on. You'll see it come on. And as predicted, it doesn't work. So a quick tip to get these working is if you lift it out and get it to suck in some air, it magically starts working. And I'm sure that's due to the fact that I haven't done any maintenance on this since the day I've got it. I've not cleaned this. I'm sure if I cleaned it, I wouldn't have to do that. But I'm a lazy whatnot, so I don't want to clean it. So we'll wait until this skimmer starts to stabilize now, and then I can start checking the levels in my sump, which I can see are not where I need them to be. The level of this middle chamber should be higher than the level of the sock chamber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sock out, because that normally means there's an airlock in there. And I'm just going to let that run through, and then I'm going to put it back in. Now you will see that the level of the sump is above the level of the sock chamber, and that's exactly where it should be. Next thing I'm going to do is take a look in the overflow box to make sure that everything is as it should be. And it is. So I have the overflow box, the emergency drain. I have the water about this much below the top. I'll come back and check that in 10 minutes. The overflow on the water box is very finicky, so you have to get that just right. But for now, that's looking good. So now I can turn my ATO back on. And the problem with the ATO, the Tunzi 3155, is every time you turn it back on, it primes and dumps a whole bunch of water in. So what you want to do is take the pump that would normally go into your return section of the sump, put it back into the ATO chamber, so it's just basically putting water back where it got it from. And I'll go and turn that on now. And now you'll hear how loud that 3155 is and why I hate it so much. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. So that should stop about now-ish. So now just take the pipe, put it back into the return chamber. And you'll notice as well, look at the skimmer, because I didn't give it that 100% clean, it's exactly where it should be. So, that's the water change done. Now, I can show you how I get the water out of the container that I put it in and dispose of that, and then we'll go back into the garage and I'll show you how I just tie everything up at the end, right, and put it all back ready for next time that I'm going to do a water change. So we can shut these doors now, we're finished in here. Alright, so next steps. So I've got the pump and the pipe that I use to fill the tank up with. I put it in this bucket. I run the pipe to the sink and I'll simply turn the pipe on. Now you're going to say, Lee, why on earth didn't you just pump the water straight out of the tank into the sink? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I'm a risk manager. And risk managers think a little bit differently to normal human beings. And I always think of the worst case scenario in that I'll start taking this water out, and before I've finished, I'll spill something in the salt mix, or there'll be a puncture in the trash can. So that's why I always fill it up into here, because if that happens, I'll just simply dump this water back in the tank and call it a day. So call me overly cautious if you will, but that's what risk managers do. We're cautious. So I'm going to plug this into the wall, and lo and behold, out comes my water. into the sink. What it also does is it washes all of that smell from that skimmer down as well. But I'll put some bleach in there afterwards. So after we've done this, after this is emptied, we'll go back and we'll finish off in the garage, and I'll show you how I get things set up so they're all ready to go for next week. So I wanted to come full circle with you and really show you the process from the start to the finish. So we're just finishing up now. What I do, obviously I'll take all of the pumps out of the brute trash can, give them a quick wipe over, make sure they've got no water in them. Take out the heater, give that a wipe down. Remember, this water's been running for 2 days. I start the mix on a Friday and I do the change on a Sunday. I take out all of the kind of little sucky things that keeps the heater on the bottom. The reason I do that is, as much as this Tropic Marine Pro salt is really good and you get hardly any browning at all, if you left this in, you would get some on these attachments. So I take everything out now, and that'll go away in its little hidey hole. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and show you how much water's left in there. So this is what's left in the brute trash can, probably about half, and I'll just leave that in there. That's absolutely fine to leave it in there. I leave water in my trash cans, the salt mix, for 4 weeks. After 4 weeks I'll do a full clean of the trash can after 4 water changes and then start again, but I'm only on week 2, so that'll stay in there. And what I'll do now is I'll start running fresh water with the RO machine. I'm going to start doing that right now, and I'll put that into the both into my freshwater brute container, which is the one on the right, and back into the salt water mix, and then that's ready to go for next week. So turning the camera around, that's it guys, that's my water changing regime for my Waterbox Reef tank. And let's turn the camera around to the tank. You'll see now everything's settled down, everything's coming out. I did the water change fairly early today actually. I normally do it a lot later in the day. So when you were seeing it when I first did it, the lights were only just ramping up and a lot of the corals weren't out. But you can see everything is nice and happy now. And we'll do it again all next week. So apologies for a really long video. This will be a long one, but I hope you get some tips out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really need your subscriptions, and post in the comments if you have picked up any tips that you're going to use, or stuff that I should be looking to do differently. And also let me know any ideas for the next vlog. Guys, follow me on Instagram at Waterbox Reef. I post daily on there. Once again, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thanks for following me. I really do appreciate it. Have a good weekend.